Hello, everybody, and thank you for listening to Operation Agency Freedom, where we are bringing you top secret advice from the world's most badass digital agency owners. These amazing men and women are sharing their stories of how they have built 6, 7, and 8-figure digital agencies and how you can too. My name is Chris Martinez, CEO of Dude, where we help digital agencies by giving them the people and the processes so that they can scale profitably. Today, I am joined by Jared Gold, founder of Website by Tonight. Welcome to the show, Jared.
Thanks so much for having me, Chris. I'm excited to be here.
You got such a good name, man.
I appreciate it.
It's like talk show host, or you could be a really cool, like almost like porn star. Like, however you want to go with that one.
Right. Yeah, I guess I'm wasting my potential. I need to be in the limelight, whatever that is. Yeah.
Well, actually, you know what? I just thought of it because I used to watch the show Entourage back in the day. I don't know if you remember that
Ari.
show. Ari Gold, man. He was awesome.
Yeah, he was the best. Yeah, I never got into that show, but Ari was just he's an amazing character.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get into our roundtable discussion because I'm really excited about today's talk. So you started playing poker when you were in high school, and you got really good, and you started a poker blog, and at one point you thought that you were going to become a professional poker player.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. I've never played poker in a casino. I'm a blackjack guy. I love playing blackjack, and I've always wanted to learn poker. So let's hear, how did you get into this?
Yeah. So I got into poker. And I'm so glad we're talking about this on this podcast because I could talk about it all day. So I got into poker. If you remember the poker boom, it was on ESPN,
Yep,
in
absolutely.
2003. Yeah, when Chris Moneymaker won the World Series. And so poker, I miss those days. Poker took the world by storm because it was so mainstream. People, the fact that this everyday accountant guy won the World Series against all these pros. Poker is absolutely a game of intense skill, but what makes it so magical is on any given day, so the worst player in the world, Chris Moneymaker is not the worst player in the world, can beat the best player in the world. And so me and my friends started playing poker, and we all just were addicted to it, just playing $5 or $10 games with our briefcases of chips at each other's houses every single day after school. And there was this guy sitting behind me in Spanish class freshman year of high school. So I was 13 at the time, I guess. And we started talking about poker, and he was saying how he played 5-10 no limit online. And that means $5 $10 blind, and that's $1,000 buy-in. And if you're playing online at that level, you're playing multiple tables. So this guy's 14 years old, you're older than me, and to play 5-10 no limit online, as a regular, you basically need at least a bankroll of at least $30,000.
Dude, that's insane. At 14.
So at 14, at 14, he had probably already won, if I had to guess, at least 50 to 100K. And so a lot of these best poker players in the world actually online came from the Northern Virginia, Maryland area where I'm from. And they all played Magic the Gathering together. I never got into that game, but they all started with that. And then they applied those skills to poker. So it was this weird hotbed of good Magic players turned into elite internet poker players. So yeah, Northern Virginia and Maryland area has had some of the best online poker players created here ever. And so this guy happened to kind of run in that crew, and he mentored me and answered all my idiot questions and recommended books. And with his advice and studying the 2+2 poker forums, and a lot of heartache and going bust and everything, I eventually became a good online poker player.
Now, I didn't understand everything that you were talking about, 2+2 and heartache, and that just blew my mind. But
heartache, the general word, and 2+2 being
okay.
the most popular poker and gambling forum, at least at the time.
What does 2+2 mean?
It's just the name of the forum. Oh. Yeah, if you search 2+2 forum, you'll see it, and so people can post different poker hands and concepts, ideas. There's a lot of good knowledge sharing.
Ah, okay. I see what you're saying. And then eventually you started running a blog about poker too, right?
Yeah, there was a popular online poker training site, and there's a few different ones now. This one was the main, best one of the time, called Card Runners. And now there's different ones. So Card Runners had a section, they opened it up to the blogs. And that's when I started blogging as an immature, 15-year-old with no emotional control. who wanted to be the best poker player, and I had plenty of fans and then plenty of like haters, and it was hilarious to look back and read. I think it's better. I don't think it's on the internet anymore. That's probably better.
That's still awesome, man. And you were
Yeah, I
doing
mean,
this
at
in
one point
such
it
a
had like a
young.
million readers, like not
Wow,
consecutive, but like cumulative. A million people had read my blogs, which is
that's
crazy.
insane.
Yeah.
So, what are some of your biggest success stories from poker? Like, what's a round of poker that you just like crushed that you'll never forget, or an exciting
Yeah,
moment or something like that?
I've um I've had some I mean, I hate tournaments because there's so much luck and they're exhausting and there's so much disappointment.
Right.
But I think I've won a tournament or two. I've made it deep, so to speak, like, finished second or third at a few. And those payouts weren't bad. Like, those were five figures. The best I ever did was it was the biggest online poker event of the time. It was a $2,500 buy-in, and I played what's called a satellite. So it allows people to buy in for like $75. And if you win out of the 50 people, you get the entry into the $2,500 tournament, right?
Nice.
That's how a satellite works. So I won this satellite. I got into this like 2-day $2,500 buy-in event. I was like 16. First place was the biggest online prize ever. It was on Full Tilt Poker.
Mm-hmm.
It was like $430,000, which is insane for like
Yeah.
a 16 or 17. So like my friends were watching me. It was an all day thing. Nowadays, that's normal on the internet. And there's been bigger prizes, but that was the biggest one at the time. That was the first one they did it, the Full Tilt Online Poker Series main event. And anyways, long story short, I got lucky a few times in the tournament and I made it. And it was like the final 15 left. And you can look this up online with my screen name. Long story short is I got it all in pre-flop with pocket queens, and the other guy had pocket nines. So I'm an overwhelming favorite to win that hand.
Yep.
Statistically, I win it like 4 out of 5 times or something. And anyways, like if I had won that pot, I would have been the chip leader going into with like 11 people left, or no, like 12 people left or something. And I would have probably won like at least 30,000 in the tournament. Maybe I would have won for the 430K. Long story short, he ended up getting a 9 on the turn card, which is the fourth of 5 community cards.
Yep.
And I quickly like busted out, and I won like $13,000, which is huge when you're 16. And everyone at like all my poker friends, like I probably had 10 people from school watching me that all liked poker. So when I came into school the next day, I was like devastated. But they were like, "What the hell is wrong with you? That's more money than I've ever made in my entire life."
Yeah.
So I think it's better I didn't win that, because with my emotional stability, if I had 400K to my name at like 16 or 17 and thinking like I was a great poker player, like
Yeah.
I probably would have died like a few years later,
I
like
was
doing
gonna
something
say
stupid.
it's just going straight to blowing hookers. That's exactly where it's
Yeah,
going.
I probably wasn't above that at that age. So yeah, it's better I didn't win that. I'm probably a lot happier now.
Awesome, man. All right. Well, now you run Website by Tonight. I love the name. Actually, my agency, when we got started, we were Website in 5 days. So kind of like some similarities.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. So tell me about Website by Tonight and how you got, or what you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially, Website by Tonight is a productized business.
Mm-hmm.
So the way and our sole focus is to become like it's a no-brainer agency, or it's a no-brainer solution for agencies to outsource their super simple websites,
Mm-hmm.
rather than doing it in-house and tying up their designers and developers. So and I personally talk to every agency that wants to use us. I actually just brought on a salesperson who's going to start the 1st of January, and I'll train her on how to do that. But essentially, we talk with people that can't just like go on our website and buy. They have to talk with someone first to set those expectations. So once they're onboarded, they can just spin up a project anytime by going to this link, and they make a copy of our project brief and content document.
Okay.
Submit it through our new project form. We personally review it, make sure it looks good, confirm the availability of the designer we have in mind to match them with. These are our designers.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that all looks good, we'll make an email intro to their designer, and they will get 2 design sessions, either partially screen sharing or fully screen sharing, right? So like if they want, they could, designer can send them that screen share link, and they watch them as they build the website and collaborate in real time.
Mm-hmm.
or maybe just screen share a little bit just to set the project up, and the designer does their own thing. So you get 2 design sessions, and then your website is launched live on the domain. And in between design session number 1 and 2, you gather any final content revisions, whatever, from your client, and bring that to session number 2. And that whole, you get a great, essentially like brochure website built on Squarespace for $8.99 or $12.99 flat. And it's with really hours of effort or attention, and anyone can spin it up, from a junior account manager to the CEO, rather than all this back and forth that is really not worth it for these simple projects.
I love this, man, because, I just learned about you a couple weeks ago, and I love it because it's like, you're almost like a design pickle / dude that meets like a, one of the VA programs, like, oh my God, why am I blanking on the name? Upwork. It's almost like you're a design pickle dude meets Upwork, because you're pairing people with designers that are vetted through you. But you have, on the front end, you have this really cool software submission process. And then you're doing all these projects. It's Squarespace specific, correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
We
platform
are
specific, and then you have a flat rate. So
exactly.
it's like
Yeah.
super easy.
Yeah, and I think and thank you for that. And I think the combination of high quality Squarespace experts that are fluent in English and work in U.S. time zones, combined with the Squarespace platform, which is perfect for like a simple website, has all the functionality you need, and then combined with like just a really simple process to spin up a project whenever you need. So yeah, like we're proud to be a one-trick pony for Squarespace, because that's really the perfect solution for our clients.
Nice, dude. That's awesome. So how did you come up with this idea? We heard the poker background and the blog, but
Right.
how did you eventually get to this website by tonight idea?
So I have to give a lot of the credit to one friend who, he's a nutritionist, and this was like a few years
You got to
ago.
give a shout out to Big Ray.
Well, his name is Jay. I'll have to let him know. I told him about him, talk about him on his podcast. So, he's like, "Hey, Jared, you do websites. I need a website." And, I'm sure you've gotten that a lot. Like, just because you do a certain category of thing doesn't mean you can do anything in that category.
Yeah.
And so
Honestly, I think that's how most digital agencies get started, is somebody finds out that, oh, you do this. Can you help me with that? And then that leads to
right.
another referral, and that person will like layer on something. Can you do Facebook ads? And you're like, sure, I can figure this out.
Right, yeah. So at the time, I was just like a one-man custom Squarespace design shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'll tell you what, why don't you just answer some of these questions, and I'll come over, and because he lived nearby, and we'll just do it in person. And so we did that, and he did his like prep work ahead of time. He just filled out some questions and populated the content on his Google Doc. And I went over there, and it went great. And then I'm like, actually, yeah, that went pretty well. Like that seemed really easy and effortless for me. I didn't think there was anything special about it, but this guy really got value from it. And then I realized, looking back, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of these like leads that I thought I was too good for, so to speak, to service, like these freelancers needing a really simple website that didn't push like, my Squarespace or, design sensibilities or anything. But they were clients that were good clients, and easy to do, like easy to complete their projects, and they were ready to pay. So like, what's the problem with that? So I started being more aware of these inbound smaller freelancer projects coming in, like websites for freelancers and consultants. And I started testing this out, and I realized, while my previous clients with the custom websites, that was going well and they were happy, these clients were like seriously elated, because they loved the efficiency of the process. It was such a huge pain for them. No one else could help them. They didn't know where to start or what to do. And I just already had like a prepackaged solution. So that's how I came up with the idea. And then why I decided to pivot to focus solely on being a white label solutions provider is, as much as, these people are great clients, it's exhausting at this price point to, have all these like one-to-one sales relationships, like generating leads, as well as like building a relationship and then like sending them on their way. So I realized, I'm like, okay, well, agencies probably have a lot of simple website needs, and that way I can build a more valuable partnership, and I'm not closing these one-to-one deals in an exhausting way.
Gotcha. So what are some of the biggest hurdles that you guys are experiencing now in growing Website by Tonight?
A lot of it was my own mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I've had like a bad habit through like any endeavors I've done of like doing something by myself. So the first step was, after I was doing these for a while, I'm like, you know what, I need to bring on another designer. So I brought on a designer, and she's still with me like over a year later. My other designer and then I have another designer that I brought on shortly thereafter, and she was with me for over a year, but now she just had a kid, so I think she's taking a little break, rightfully so. And then I brought another designer who's been with me the past few months too, and she's been great. So like, I think just getting out of your own way, like, yeah, you could do it, but is it the best use of your time? So I have these great designers. I know how to find them and keep them happy, and pay them a good rate. And then now I just brought on this marketing person, who because she reached out to you and got me on the podcast. And so we have a lot of great things planned. And then I just brought on a new salesperson that will start in early January. So I think just like getting out of my own way and bringing on people, so that I can focus on creating an actual like business, like a machine, as opposed to just being like a one person workhorse, which, doesn't really scale. So that's been the biggest hurdle is finally committing to that.
Yeah, I mean that's a very common problem with business owners, not just in our industry but in all industries. It's like you this thing is your baby, and you raise it literally from the ground up out of nothing.
Right.
And then it's just so you have so much fear about letting go of the reins, but you get to a point and you're like, man, I gotta bite the bullet. I gotta bring somebody on. Who do you think is the most important hire for the digital agencies that you interact with? Like if you, because I'm sure you talk to a lot of agency owners, and you get to peek inside of their agency and see how things are really going on the inside. What do you think is the most common hire that they are missing?
That's a great question. Um, I even though I would say I'm an armchair therapist, I try not to pry too much. What I would say is, I think I don't know if it's a permanent hire or if it's just like a part-time person that comes in and fixes things, but really along the lines of like productizing their business in a way. I feel like the biggest thing is so many agencies, like they can deliver great work, but they operate a lot of times out of like extreme speed and like fear, because they want to make the client happy and they say, sure, we can do this or whatever, as opposed to the client following their process, so to speak.
Exactly.
So like,
100%.
yeah. Like I think, your agency has just like blown up and taken off. And I'm sure, you walk me through like how you do it a little bit. And I was like really impressed by the super efficient systems that you have. And I'm sure you have lots of internal SOPs and specific people that you train up on it. And that's why you've had such an extreme growth rate. I think you said you're at 40 people now.
Yeah, I think we might be actually over that now.
Yeah. And like that, I mean, you got there so fast, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's been, well, the first year, I shouldn't say the first year. The 2018 is when it really took off. We went from 5 to 29. And then
Like
we've had another 13 people this year.
I mean, as far as like an agency, that's like unprecedented growth.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't really think about it, but I do have to take a step back and be like, yeah, that's pretty insane that we grew that fast.
Yeah, it's like completely crazy. And a lot of agencies do great work. They close big deals. They have good clients, all that stuff. But they're so focused on the day-to-day execution because they're just creating every process from scratch, kind of out of fear, as opposed to being like, you know what, this is our process. Clients sign on to this process when they work with us, and they follow this and they trust that this will lead them to the successful outcome. And that way they're working on the agency's terms. The agency knows what's best, as opposed to like the agency being out of fear or working out of fear of, oh, like I just want to make this client happy. Like we're just going to do this, forget any process. And, maybe they get stuck in email or all these like texts or endless revisions. I would say that's the number one thing. So if there was someone that they could bring on, even just to implement these processes in the short term, and like get people to stick to it, that would be like the thing.
Yeah. Or they can find somebody like you or like me who has built-in processes, and then they just emulate what we do. That's like
Hmm.
the easiest thing to do.
Right.
There's like an ironic part about, about having the discipline with your SOPs, because most of us got into the agency world, the agency life, not because we're like super money hungry.
Mhm.
Like most of us, I think 99% of agency owners have like huge hearts. They want to help their clients, or like desperately, like they want their clients to win. And that's why we bend over backwards and break the rules a lot of the times for our clients, so that we can give them what they want, or what they think that they want. And then also because we're naturally pretty creative, the chaos, the chaos is exciting for sure. And so, that's why we kind of like, we'll create an SOP, but then we'll like, we're going to deviate it from it this time. And then, 2 weeks later, we're completely off track. And getting back to the irony is that you need the discipline to end up having the freedom that you've always dreamed of when you started your agency. And so like sometimes I'll talk to my agency clients and they're like, man, I suck at discipline. I'm like, no, you have discipline. Like, you're just disciplined in not having discipline. You were
Yeah.
very disciplined at breaking the rules every single freaking time.
So that's really funny you mentioned that, Chris, because I was just thinking about it today. And it's like, me and my team are really great at sticking to the process we have.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been a few, I'm human, right? And there's been a few times where I'm like, I like this person. I'm going to do them a favor and really go above and beyond and stick outside the process. Every time I've ever had that mindset and try to do someone a favor by going above and beyond, I've regretted it.
Yep.
And I realize, I'm like, wow, me doing them the favor is just leading them through the process and reminding them to follow it, and everything will turn out great. And that's why I close them as a client anyway. So like, I think it's a matter of like, yeah, I totally agree with you. Agency owners have big hearts. They want to get creative to solve problems. And that's where their process comes in. Like, and that's how they best serve people, and it makes everyone happier. And it's just a matter of like trust and fear, right? They're scared that they're going to let this person down, or they don't trust that their process works. And that's a process problem.
Yeah.
That if
You know,
it doesn't work, we got to
I just
solve it.
thought of something else. I think that a lot of the times when the clients reach out to us and they want us to change something, or they're somewhat frantic and they want to like deviate from the program, it's because something typically happened with them that is throwing them off of their equilibrium. And so
Mm,
their immediate gut reaction is to reach out to us. And a lot of the times what they're really doing is just venting. Right. And
yeah.
so we need to have that understanding as agency owners to be like, okay, like, first of all, you don't need to respond right away. Let them settle down. And then once everything's kind of more calm, just talk to them and be like, I understand that this happened, but we're still going to move forward with this plan, because this is still our end objective. And this is how we know that we're going to get there. And I think
Yeah.
if you just I always try and understand what the other person is going through and try and understand their perspective. That's just part of how like I process things, is like, okay, if I understand what they're going through, then I can see it through their eyes and I can try and come up with a solution that works for everybody. Which in our current political climate, I wish that more people would think like that.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I think that like as agency people, we need to recognize that usually this is coming from a place of fear on the client's end, and that's why they're freaking out and they're asking us to compensate for their inability to manage their emotions and deviate from our proven processes so that we can accommodate their like 3 minutes of craziness.
Dude, that was deep, man. You're like the agency Oprah over here.
I just
Change your show title.
I just had an epiphany right now. It's just one of those.
No,
You know what it is? It's because we're gonna go see Star Wars today, and I'm channeling my inner Yoda.
no, that's wise. I got to see that too. But yeah, I fully agree that it's so that fear-based mindset, and I think, that mindset of yours, for example, of not choosing fear and trusting your process and being able to listen with that filter and then guide the clients to the way that you run things, and therefore they'll be successful. Like, I'm sure that's been a factor in your success for the past few years.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, you see that everywhere with business leaders, like the ones that are chaotic and run around with their heads cut off, like thinking everything is a fire, everything is an emergency, and a problem. They don't usually stick around. Their companies don't grow, or they have a lot of issues. Whereas the companies that like approach things from a more like take a step back and process and then execute calmly, trusting themselves, like those are the ones that really take off.
You know, what's funny is, as I mentioned earlier, you know, like because we work with agencies, we get to see underneath the hood and what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
And we've worked with some big agencies, like, you know, multiple 7-figure agencies.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're on the operations side, we get to peek under the hood, see everything that's going on. And some of those big agencies that you think are super successful, they're not. They're not as successful as you think financially. Like, they are a
Their margins
mess.
are razor thin.
They're not as profitable. They're barely making any money. Like, I
Right.
personally have no idea how they keep the lights on. And those guys, a lot of the times they get stuck in this cycle of having to just, you know, take on as many projects as they possibly can just to keep the lights on. And I can't imagine that that's a fun way to live if you're the owner of that company. Like, if you have like all these people on payroll and all these massive expenses, and you're just taking on any project that you can get your hands on that you might not even, that you probably know that you're not a good fit for. And you're just doing it just for the money, you know, basically just whoring yourself out. That can't be fun. Like, so
No.
I know that, like, when I see somebody that's that big and like everybody thinks, oh my God, they're, you know, so-and-so, it's so amazing. I'm like, I don't know. Let's see what's really going on there.
Yeah, I mean, not to derail the conversation, but on that topic, you know, one of the things that I've learned is you can't be everything to everyone. So just because you could like close the deal of, you know, giving them another service or whatever, or changing your offering, it doesn't mean that you should, because that's not your core competency. You're going to be, you know, running around crazy trying to deliver things. Everything's going to be a panic. Like, I think the best agencies are ones that have like a certain niche or a specific offering and a specific target market, and they're happy with that. And that way it's like they're so much easier to refer, they're so much easier to be the leader in that space, as opposed to just being like, oh yeah, we're a creative agency, we can do, you know, I hate the we're a full service agency. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we can work with anyone, we can do anything. Like, no one remembers that. That's like, that doesn't do anyone any good.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome, man. So, you know, for all of our agency owners out there that are listening, you know, if you had to tell them like how you can help them, give me your elevator pitch right now.
As far as Website by Tonight?
Yeah, Website by Tonight.
Yeah, just anytime they have a really simple client website, could be a single pager, could maybe be up to 6 to 7 pages. Maybe it has like a contact form or a blog. Simple website, doesn't have to be pixel perfect. It just has to look good and fully responsive and have basic functionality. You know, why tie up your internal design development resources and take months on doing all these things when you could just have Website by Tonight as like a reliable delivery mechanism every single time? So whether it's like you have a retainer client that just needs a simple website and it's just too costly to do in-house, or you don't have the resources, or let's say you're like a branding agency and a client comes to you and they say, hey, we have an 8K budget for a brand and a website. And you realize, well, we could do the brand in-house for 5K. The website can just be simple. Our websites are usually, you know, 20K or more. So instead of saying no to the client because they don't have your website budget, you can take them on, make some money on the website, make some money on the branding. So these simple websites are a way to empower you to both serve existing clients more profitably with plenty of room for markup, as well as close new deals. Yeah, I try to think of it like kind of the Uberification of just a simple website that you don't have to overthink, and you can transition really easily.
Perfect, man. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the show today. What is the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Yeah, just check out websitebytonight.com. Specifically, just click on the partner tab. Our plan is to fully become exclusively a white label agency, but our homepage is still for still talks about like direct clients as opposed to agency partner clients. Okay. So yeah, just check us out at websitebytonight.com. I need to get better at social media. That's definitely on the marketing person's roadmap.
Social media is a fad. That's going away.
Just at least writing more, because I do enjoy blogging. So I need to start blogging.
Awesome, man. And who would be the perfect person to reach out to you today?
I would say I'm thinking it could be an owner of an agency or like a head of creative. And let's say like a 5 to 30 person digital or creative agency, where they're great strategists, they're great at closing deals. They're great at executing, but they just are always open to a new tool in their toolkit to do things most effectively, so they can focus on what they do best, being the strategizing and all that kind of stuff. So I'd say 5 to 30 person, like a digital or creative marketing agency.
Perfect. Awesome, man. Well, to all of our listeners, you guys have been listening to Jared Gold. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in today, and make sure that you return next Thursday and every Thursday for the next episode of Operation Agency Freedom. Awesome.